The data is clear. The Chinese people have enjoyed a greater improvement in their standard of living, relatively speaking, than the American people have in the past 30 years. Yet, even if American scholars accept that fact, they would respond that America will inevitably overcome its problems because democratic political systems are superior to Communist Party systems. They're superior because democratically elected rulers have to be sensitive to the needs and interests of their citizens who vote them in. Hence, in theory, democracy should deliver good governance, improving the lives of their people, and Communist Party systems should deliver bad governance, worsening the lives of their people. In practice, the opposite has happened. Over the past 30 years, America has delivered bad governance and China has delivered good governance. Why has this happened? The simple answer is that America's democracy has become a plutocracy and China's Communist Party rule has become a meritocracy. What is the fundamental difference between a democracy and plutocracy? Quite simple. A democracy serves the interests of 100% of the population. A plutocracy, the interests of the wealthy elites, say the top 1%. Many Americans would challenge the claim that America has become a plutocracy. Yet some of the most revered and respected American figures have confirmed this. One such person is Paul Volcker, the most respected Federal Reserve Chairman in American history. I knew him well personally. Indeed, he came to my home in Singapore for dinner several times. In an interview with Andrew Ross Sorkin of New York Times on October 23, 2018, he said, "We are in hell of a mess in every direction." He added, "There's no force on earth that can stand up effectively year after year against the thousands of individuals and hundreds of millions of dollars in the Washington swamp aimed at influencing the legislation and electoral processes." Paul Volcker concluded by saying categorically, the central issue is we are developing into a plutocracy. The dangers of a plutocracy where society is ruled by the wealthy, for the wealthy, has been known for thousands of years. Almost 2,500 years ago, Socrates asked, what would happen if someone were to choose the captains of ships by their wealth, refusing to entrust the ship to a poor person even if he was a better captain? They would make a poor voyage of it. This is exactly what has happened. American people have had a poor voyage over the past 30 years. Other eminent figures have confirmed that America has become a plutocracy. One of the most influential columnists in the world is Martin Wolf of the Financial Times. In a July 18, 2020 article, Wolf wrote, "The poor state of so many Americans is in part the product of plutocratic politics, a relentless and systematic devotion of the interests of the very rich, a politics of low taxes, low social spending, and high inequality is sustainable in a universal suffrage democracy only with a mixture of propaganda in favor of trickle-down economics, splitting the less well-off on cultural and racial lines, ruthless gerrymandering, and outright voter suppression. All this has indeed happened." The Nobel laureate Joseph Stiglitz published an article in Vanity Fair in May 2011, providing comprehensive evidence on how America now has a government of the 1%, by the 1%, for the 1%. This is what he says. "It's no use pretending that what has obviously happened has not in fact happened. The upper 1% of Americans are now taking in nearly a quarter of the nation's income every year. In terms of wealth rather than income, the top 1% control 40%. Their lot in life has improved considerably. 25 years ago, the corresponding figures were 12% and 33%. Please note one key fact. 25 years ago, the top 1% took in 12% of the total nation's income. Today, these top 1% have doubled their share of national income to 25%. How did this happen? Americans who want to find out how plutocracy emerged should listen to one of their greatest philosophers, John Rawls. Rawls said, "The liberties protected by the principle of participation lose much of their value whenever those who have greater private means are permitted to use their advantages to control the course of public debate." Almost 50 years ago, he warned that if those with greater private means are allowed to control the course of public debate, American democracy would be subverted. This is exactly what happened when the US Supreme Court overturned, in a landmark ruling in Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission 2010, and in other decisions, many of the legislative restraints on the use of money to influence the political process. Martin Wolf says that the Supreme Court's perverse 2010 Citizens United decision held that companies are persons and money is speech. This has proved to be a big step on the journey of the US towards becoming a plutocracy. Serious peer-reviewed academic studies have confirmed that America has functionally become a plutocracy. Two Princeton University professors, Martin Gylens and Benjamin Page, have reached the following alarming conclusion, quote, "Americans do enjoy many features central to democratic governance, such as regular elections, freedom of speech and association, and a widespread, if still contested, franchise. But we believe that if policy making is dominated by powerful business organizations and a small number of affluent Americans, then America's claims to being a democratic society are seriously threatened," unquote. They add, "In the United States, our findings indicate the majority does not rule, at least in the causal sense of actually determining policy outcomes." Thoughtful Americans can see that American democracy has been hijacked by the very wealthy to serve their narrow interests. Paradoxically, even though America has the freest media in the world, most Americans seem to be unaware that this has happened. Even more curiously, leading American newspapers like the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal never used the politically accurate term of plutocracy to describe the American political system. If Cannon were alive today, he would see clearly that the core problem that America faces today is that it has become a plutocracy. However, it cannot fix the problem of having become a plutocracy because it denies that it has a problem of plutocracy. This is America's biggest competitive disadvantage in the geopolitical contest it has launched against China.